So who's going to be the man? Aaron Judge and Cal Raleigh are in the middle of one of the most contested MVP races we've seen in a long time, especially in the American League. There's a lot of factors going into play here and a lot of stuff that the sports writers are talking about. That's part of the issue, I think, is what the sports writers and the media is leaning towards, feeding to us as the fans and influencing our opinion. But there's certain people that their opinion is not influencing, and those are the people we're going to focus on right now. Well, they keep referring to the players, okay. It's not really substance that they keep saying, oh, the players I'm speaking to. They're not referring to any sources. I kind of get why they got to protect themselves, but either way, talk is cheap. So who am I referring to? Who are the people that really see how much a player affects a game, how much a player affects a team, and what they're putting into production? That's going to be the managers. I want to talk about what leaders, what coaches are seeing from these athletes, from these players, that's leading them to be the MVP. Now, let's start with the obvious, then we're going to go into what's a little bit less obvious. You got Cal Raleigh, 60 home runs from a catching position. Why that's so important? I think he played something like 158 games this season, 159 games. That's very damn impressive for a catcher to be able to do that. So that deserves its own merit. Then you have Aaron Judge, probably the best hitter in the American League right now, maybe the best hitter in the league when it comes to overall power, when it comes to getting on base, and when it comes to batting average, which batting average and on base is both better than Cal's right now. But what else is going into that decision here? Now, let's focus on, we're not going to go into the stats. Everyone's beating us up at the stats. We're not going to talk about WAR. I know that's a whole other thing that I believe is kind of a flawed system. We'll talk about that in a later video. But what is going into play here? So, when we got somebody like Cal Raleigh, what is he doing? First of all, as a catcher, not only is he durable, he's doing a fantastic job, which really needs to be recognized. I don't think people are, as being that field general. What do I mean by that? Not only is he an offensive dynamo, but his pitching, his relationship with his pitchers is on point. His starting pitching, his pitch framing. He really knows how to call a game. He really knows how to make sure that the field is in place as far as the positioning for his teammates. Huge that people aren't taking into consideration there. Managers see that. How is this guy affecting the team? How is he putting everyone in a proper play? And he's doing it on a daily basis. It's really tough to compete with. Now, on the flip side, let's talk about Aaron Judge for a second. What is he doing? First of all, when he's at the plate, I know we're going to lean on the offense for a little bit. When he's at the plate, he's affecting everybody in that lineup. What do I mean by that? Specifically, not only the person in front of him, which Cal Raleigh also is affecting, but the person behind him, somebody like Giancarlo Stanton, who Cal Raleigh might not be affecting that much. Why am I saying this? Because if you look at the players that Aaron Judge has had both before and after him, first of all, the guy before him, they're going to want to pitch to him because they don't want to see Aaron Judge specifically with players on base. Obviously. Now, the guy behind him, somebody like Giancarlo Stanton, who's another power right-hitting bat, gets to see the pitch selection that they're putting in play to Aaron Judge. And that's going to calculate for him when on the back end in order to have him have more experience against this pitch that's going in front of him. Unless, of course, in the later innings. Yeah. But that is so big right there that Aaron Judge is able to do that. That's a third of the lineup that he's having a direct impact on. Not to mention the long at-bats he takes to get pitchers out of there that affects the entire lineup. So that's being said with that. Now, on top of that, he's not going to be a field general in the same aspect as Cal Raleigh. He's playing right in center field. It's really difficult to do that. So Cal Raleigh, he's being exceptional in that right. We're not going to compare it there. We're not going to pretend there's a fight in that end. However, Aaron Judge is, he's DHing. He's played all three outfield positions. And on top of that, you see before and after his relationship with his teammates, whether he's got to pick them up, whether he's got to show them signs of encouragement and compliments. Aaron Judge is always in the picture with that. He's clearly the Yankee captain. That's being taken into consideration, and I know that coaches are seeing that. Coaches and managers are really the people that need to vote on this. Not sports writers who have an opinion, who think they know the game as well as they do. But whatever, they do study, so I'll give them the respect there. I think that it's the managers. The managers have seen, and they've played both with and against them, and they know the effect that they're having when they have to put them into play, when they have to compete against these players. They've seen the effect they've had on their strategy of the game. That is why the manager's opinion is on here. Now, from what I understand, now I don't have sources or anything like that, from what I've seen that there's been more of a dynamic with what the managers have to say about what Aaron Judge and the way he affects the game as opposed to Cal Raleigh. But I don't think that's necessarily a fair assessment because I think it's easier to do that for somebody like Aaron Judge. With Cal Raleigh, on the other hand, there's a lot of stuff that is almost expected from a catcher that's getting overlooked here, specifically with the durability, relationship with the pitching staff. I'd be interested to see, this is a replacement, quote-unquote, player that they could do with the WAR, is the last starting catcher before Cal Raleigh, how their starting pitching did, how their bullpen did with ERA, strikeouts, innings pitched. And then you can have a fair assessment. But from what I understand, Cal Raleigh is doing very well in that position. Plus, he's got above-average pitch framing. So it's up to you guys. You decide. Who do you think is going to be the MVP? What do you think about managers making that selection and their opinion on the matter? Looking forward to it.